Hi, Tobias. So nice to have you here on the red carpet.
Nice to be here.
If you can just kick off with a brief introduction to the film, what can audiences expect from The Good Nurse?
Well, The Good Nurse is a story about the most prolific serial killer in American history, Charlie Cullen. But more than that, it's a story about the nurse who stopped him, Amy Loughran, the good nurse. The woman who did what a system couldn't do, reminded him of his own kindness and goodness, and put an end to the nightmare that had terrored the American healthcare system for years.
And I guess probably the thing that really stands out most is that we didn't already know the story. And why do you think it was so important to get this to screen?
Well, exactly the reason that we didn't know this story was the reason to tell it. But more than that, because we could have told the story of Charlie Cullen in a more simple way, just basically describing it. But I found, especially in these times where we seem to be obsessed with true crime, that we need to have a good reason to enter the darkness. You know, a light in there that kind of can help us navigate. Amy was that light for me. So me meeting Amy and understanding her story made it not only a necessary movie to make, but the only movie to make for me.
And I mean, I don't know if you had these two in mind, but it seems like kind of a dream cast with Redmayne and Jessica Chastain, and they just give such understated, nuanced, but perfectly pitched performances. So how did you cast them and how did you work with them?
Well, thank you, and I have to agree. I don't know where to go from here, but it was such a pleasure. Listen, it's two big movie stars, but on top of that, they're even greater actors. They know their work so well. They have their processes, the methods to find the truth, and to be able to rehearse with them for weeks before we started to shoot made me realize how much they brought to the table. We went over the screenplay again and again and again, and to find the truth in the scenes we're portraying. So that process was just a joy because they are so good.
And I believe you actually had real doctors and nurses on set, so that kind of gave it that feeling of realism too.
Yeah, well, I think we owe that to the staff of nurses and doctors around the world who took us through the pandemic. If we're not going to portray the world they live in, we better do it correctly. So luckily they were able to help us.
And the takeaways, I guess on the one side, this broken system that allowed this to happen, but also an amazing tribute to the doctors and nurses that are there for us every day.
Well, thank you for saying that, and I totally agree. And yes, more than anything, it's a tribute to Amy, an individual who stood up against the whole system.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time. Really enjoy the evening. Thank you.